The first oral interview that we did was with Susanna Ray, granddaughter of L.C. Phipps II, one of the longest owner of the mansion. When do you recall that being?
Well, as I said, I was in the first graduating class, 1952, from the Plum Creek School. This is the one that still exists and is the bus administration for the Highlands Ranch. And we had 2 outhouses on the property, one for the girls and one for the boys. Those were called 2-holers. And we had 2 large trees, and we could play stink. And we had 2 fences, so you could run from one to the other, called pum-pum pull-away. And the girls played hopscotch. And I don't know what the boys did, just whatever boys do, but the girls played hopscotch. And we had recess, and we had to take all our galoshes. This is back in the days when you had snowsuits, the kind that you had to climb into, and if you ever saw the one about, what was the movie, and I'm drawing a senior moment here, where they had the children all dressed up in the snowsuits, and you were walking like a snow zombie because you had these galoshes and snowsuits.
Christmas Story?
Christmas Story, thank you.
One set in Cleveland?
Yeah.
Or the guy wanted the air rifle?
Air rifle, the Daisy air rifle, remember that one?
Yeah.
And that is a perfect example of what we had to dress up like when it was winter time. And we had a cloakroom, and we had to take off our galoshes. I mean, it must have taken 15, 20 minutes to take off our galoshes. But we did have recess, and we had to go outside and to the outhouse. So I think we made it really fast. I don't think we had to put on our galoshes for that. I can't remember. Maybe we just tromped through the mud and snow, but the snow was usually like it is now. It can, in this climate, can snow 4 inches, and by afternoon, it's pretty much evaporated.
Another oral interview we did about a year and a half ago was with G. Marvin Beeman, a veterinarian whose father was the first huntsman hired by the L.C. Phipps Ranch. Marvin talks about stories doing veterinary work on the ranch itself while he was working professionally.
There is a really good medical story I just happened to think about. My dad had a mare that he rode, and then my wife rode this horse, and the horse's name was Satin, and she was really a nice horse. And as she got a little older, they bred her, and we were living here on the ranch, right over here in this little cottage.
One of the cottages?
Uh-huh. And when her baby was due, Dad called me about 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, and he said, Marvin, he says, you've got to come quick. He said, Satin's had the baby, and he says, I'm pretty sure she's going to have another one. And so we got everybody up, our 2 children, and our little girl was just 3 years old, and our little boy was 5, and they jumped in the truck, and we went over there. And when I got there, she had just had the second one. Well, the first one was pretty normal sized. He was, about that big. And the little filly was about that big. And the little...
Twins aren't that usual, are they?
Oh no, 1 in 10,000 survive. 1 in 10,000 sets survive. And so this little thing, and my daughter, she loved her grandfather. Anyway, she wasn't strong enough to nurse. And so my father and my daughter, for 3 days, every 3 hours, which included during the night, got up and fed
this little filly.
That little filly. Well, on the 4th day, the little Dickens went to the pasture with her mother and her big brother. And those 2 horses grew up, and unbeknownst to us, when that little filly was 2 years old and my daughter was 5, she rode that little thing by herself. And we didn't know that till our daughter told us when she was 18. Anyway, she went ahead and trained that little twin and hunted her. I've got the sweetest picture of her and our daughter in pigtails, and hunted her. And both of my children helped my dad with the hounds, as well as my wife and myself.
Yeah.
So, and then the rest of that story is twins. It was questionable in those days if a female twin could have youngsters. Well, we bred that mare to one of the horses that Mr. Phipps had over there, and she had a horse named MLR, which was the best horse that was born and raised at the hunt club during my lifetime. He was just a marvelous horse.
And it wouldn't have happened without the nursing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
Nice story.
yeah, well, I use a picture of the good horse and the picture of my daughter riding his mother. And the horse that was such a good horse was probably 14, 15 inches taller than his mother.
Yeah, good story.
Yeah.
Next up, we interviewed 3 cowboys who had worked on the Phipps Ranch in the 60s, talking about the 1965 flood of Plum Creek and the Platte River.
Walter, were you around in the '65 flood?
I was not here, but we came up to visit. We were also affected down east of Colorado Springs in the flood of '65 too. Washed out a lot of our fences. All the water gaps across the creeks had to be replaced. Some of the other fences had to be replaced. Some of the cattle got mixed up with as resort them, but up here it was on with the Platte River. It was along the farms. I guess it was a little more devastating. My brother would know more about that, but we came up to visit afterwards to see the damage, but it was a while afterwards, later in the summer. But,
Skeet, what do you remember about the '65 flood?
65, it washed out everything. Bud Morgan used to live down on the Plum Creek, and Fred Hunter used to live on the Plum Creek. And his house, Bud Morgan's house, got totally wiped out. Fred Hunter had just a little bit of water in his house, but the debris forced the water away from it. We had to come in through after the water went down a little bit. Only way we get here is come down Bowles, then hit Happy Camp, I forget the name of the street down through, and then come back across in order to get into Plum Creek. We had to doze our way in because it wiped out so much fence and so much road and put a lot of rock and everything else in there. We had tractors, I think, down there on the Plum Creek. One family had a cow down there for the milk and had chickens down there. And the cow was inside the barn and she had to hold her head up above the water. We could hear the daggone roar of the river up here when it was going down the Plum Creek.
But the Phipps Ranch was sold after the 1974 death of L.C. Phipps to Mission Viejo Company, a land developer from California. Jim Teffer was the first Colorado project manager. Well, one final comment from me, from watching the 400 pictures and reading your story and all. From the pictures in particular, it seemed like you guys knew how to throw good parties.
That we did.
Very family-oriented.
Yes, I was going to say they were
And
family-oriented.
it looked like they had a good time.
They did, and the food was fantastic, even though cook prepared it. And, but I don't remember ever finding somebody drunk and laying on the ground or anything like that. Do you?
But
It was free beer, that's why.
those pictures, you can tell it was a different time because the hairstyles were different. The shorts that even the guys wore were much shorter than they are today, rather than these things that are halfway down your legs or whatever. And there was a lot of Miller Lite that seemed to show up in those pictures.
Miller beer was part of the Philip Morris.
Yeah, that's why there was
That's
a lot
why-
of Miller Lite that,
But
that seemed to show up in those pictures. I didn't get that connection.
became
I
a
was-
very good friend of the company. and-
I was amused by the pictures of the kids with what appeared to be holding on to the back legs of the pig.
Oh, that was our, remember we had
It
the
was a
grease pig
a
contest?
grease pig contest.
Yeah.
Pig contest. Tell me about that.
Well, we'd grease them up and then kids would have to
Catch
do
'em.
something.
And it
Catch
wasn't
'em,
just kids, wasn't it adults?
And adults.
Management
Oh,
too?
We did both, I think.
I saw
we
some
did
management
adults and-
pictures, looked like they were
Steve was
eyeing
in
these
there.
pigs
I wouldn't
like,
lower myself to be.
Oh, no, when you rode the tricycle, remember?
I lost.
right out here, by the
It was
way.
all rigged. Jack Robb rigged it, and my bicycle.
He didn't.
Yes, he did. He rigged it. My bicycle wouldn't work. We had a fun time.
We did.
We
Okay. So Donna, thank you for sharing all
Oh,
those
you're
pictures. They
welcome.
gave me an insight of really what sounds like you have an incredible company
Life is life.
thank you.
orientation, and obviously we live in this community now and benefit from the fruits of all of your collective efforts.
Well, thank you for.
And I wanted to thank you on behalf of the Historical Society for spending a couple hours with us today and
You bet.
regaling us with some
You
of the
have to be more
stories.
particular about your people that.
Well, some
Wait.
things can't be
I'm
helped.
gonna harass you now.
Don't you know you're loved? Huh? Don't you?
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Okay, so I'm going to give you the final word.
I appreciate you giving me the time to talk, and I could keep talking, as you know, probably for another 7 or 12 hours. You know, there are so many things, the Historical Society, what happened to the cheese ranch, the problems we had with that, and the groups that we thought we were building this underground city, and it's so many funny things, you know, that you never would think would be a part of a development project, but so many things affected so many of the residents, and the people enjoy living in these places. They enjoy a mission, and they're running out of money. They want to expand the big pool at Mission. They need about $1.4 million, so they're looking to you for that.
They're gonna be sorry.
Okay, well, we're going to have to shut this off.
Thank you so much. You've been very nice.
and
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Not too hard, and I got to walk home now.
Yeah. After the community infrastructure was built, Jim Teffer hired Art Cook to come out from California to be the ranch manager and the community spokesman.
So you were still employed in California by Mission Viejo Company. How did you come to Highlands Range in Colorado?
Well, I got this call from Jim Teffer, and it was in February. And he says, "Hi, Art." And I says, "Hi, Jim." And he says, "I'd like you to come to Colorado." Well, you know, I'd been there, as I just mentioned, for the activity program. I thought, oh, good, I'm going to get to do another little trip over there and have fun putting on some kind of a program. And, of course, by that time, he had been here a year because they had done the development plan for Highlands Ranch. They bought the ranch and they spent a fantastic year with his planners going over the development plan. They finished it, and they were excited about it. And he called me and said, "I want you to come over to Colorado." "Well, sure, Jim, when?" I was thinking again for another weekend type thing, maybe. And I said, "Sure. Well, what do you want? What do we need?" "No, I want you to move over here." "Oh my, okay. Let me think about that. For how long?" Type thing. And I said, "Oh, well, okay. I said, let me talk to Pat and everything and make sure that I'm making my, what am I gonna do over there? Well, you've got to, we need somebody over here that's not shy, who will be able to talk. We're introducing the program now, the development plan, through the numerous jurisdictions. It's going to go through the county, through state agencies, through districts and everything like that. And we also need, we've got the planners that do that, but we need someone to talk to folks who are just interested in the community, interested in what's going to happen. Because once it hits the jurisdictions, then it goes public and people are going to say, what in the world are you going to do? You know, don't Californicate Colorado was the way that they wanted to make sure it didn't happen. So they wanted someone to come over to take the exhibits, to develop pre-development plan and describe what was going to happen on this fantastic property of Highlands Ranch. What we did is, let's start communicating with the residents. These are the folks that are going to make the success of this community. So 4 of us dressed up for Thanksgiving. The 3 of them as pilgrims, and of course me as the turkey. And we distributed, I think it was 35 turkeys to the new families that were living in Highlands Ranch, just as a welcome to them as the initial residents. Thank you, and we hope you're going to have a wonderful time.
The Highlands Ranch mansion was remodeled or renovated from 2010 to 2012. Here is Jeff Case, the project leader for the Metro District, talking about some aspect of the butler's pantry.
This sink here is a nickel sink, and it's been here probably since the 20s, 30s time period. What's interesting is that this sink with the somewhat unusual point of separation partition in it is almost identical to the sink that's in the Grant Humphreys mansion, which also had some renovations done during that time period. So once again, you see some similarities for structures of this scale and scope in the region. By then, electricity was available for this house. The tile that we have here is the tile that we had when Mission View Company, obtained the property. Probably it's also from that time period, the 20s and 30s. Cabinets in here, again, they were more for china and formal stuff. They really probably did not keep utensils in here. There is plumbing, and there was plumbing in order with running water, for the help to use this. And there are a couple pieces in here that were in different parts, an icebox, an early, refrigerator type configuration that has been in the house since ownership was taken by Mission View Company. There's also a Standard Electric, what would look nowadays like I forgot the name, but a little stove unit that sat on top there. Probably at the time was very trendy, so to speak, to buy that.